It's amazing to think that one of the greatest players in Major League Baseball history will never be enshrined in their respective Hall of Fame. This is because there's been controversy surrounding the greatest hitter that ever played the game. Peter Edward Rose is one of the greatest Major League Baseball players and the greatest Major League hitter to ever step on the field. Today I will discuss Pete Rose as he was growing up, a little bit about his playing career, and I will also discuss the gambling incidents that has kept him out of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. So let's begin by discussing Pete's childhood. Pete was born April 14th, 1941 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was just one of 4 children parented by his parents. He went to Western Hills High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. While he was at Western Hills, he played baseball and football. Pete only played football his freshman year. Pete got a little irritated that he didn't get to make the starting running back position, so he decided that football wasn't necessarily for him. So at this point, Pete decided just to focus on baseball. However, because Pete was trying to play 2 sports that year, Pete had a little bit of a difficult time keeping his academics up at the level that the high school required in order for him to play, and also to move on to his sophomore year. So because of that, they discussed it with his parents, and his parents decided that it was better for Pete to fail a year and stay back 1 more year in high school instead of doing summer classes, as if he did summer classes, he would completely miss most of his summer baseball season, which wouldn't be good for Pete. So Pete spent an extra year, a total of 5 in high school. This proved to help Pete, however, as that gave him a total of 5 years to work on his baseball skills at the high school level. This paid off for Pete because right after high school, he immediately began to play professional baseball. Right after high school, Pete signed a contract with the Reds minor league affiliate. This contract had a $7,000 signing bonus with it, and a clause in it for $500 more if Pete could make the major leagues and stay there for a full year. Pete made this pay off in 1963, as on opening day, Pete Rose was on the major league roster. Pete not only stayed up there on opening day, but he stayed up there the rest of the season as well. At the end of the season, he received 17 of the 20 votes needed, or 17 of the 20 votes for the Rookie of the Year honors for that year, making Pete the National League Rookie of the Year for 1963. He continued to play in the Major Leagues from 1963 to 1966. Some of Pete's major accomplishments are that, 1, he played in 16 All-Star games while he was part of that. Pete's most memorable All-Star game came in 1970, when the catcher from the Cleveland Indians was guarding home plate in the 12th inning of a 4-4 tie ball game when Pete rounded third and headed for home. I'd like to show a video clip just real quick showing Pete and him colliding with Ray Fosse at home plate to win the game in the 1970 All-Star game.
He was forced to run over catcher Ray Fosse. First of all, he was racing against the excellent fielding of Amos Otis on Jim Hickman's single. From the overhead shot, it is obvious that Fosse was up the line, blocking the plate. If we freeze that last shot, we can clearly see Rose's dilemma: the ball, the plate, and Ray Fosse.
So here you can see that you knew that Pete went all out no matter what he did. This proved to be one of the biggest moments in the All-Star game, and actually it ended Ray Fosse's career. Heck of a way to end your career in the All-Star game when it's typically supposed to be the best of the best. Well, Pete showed that he was the best that day, and he led the National League to the 5-4 victory. Something else Pete did was he once held a 44-game hitting streak. Currently, Ty Cobb holds the record at 56. Nobody's ever come close to Ty. 44 is actually the 3rd closest that anybody's ever came. So to hold that hitting streak is a huge accomplishment for any Major League Baseball player. He also won 2 World Series with the Big Red Machine. This was a Cincinnati ball club that in 1975 and 1976 won back-to-back World Championships. Pete was a big part of that playing second base. Pete's biggest accomplishment, though, is that he holds the record for most hits ever hit by any Major League Baseball player. On September 11th, 1985, Pete hit a ball into the left center field gap at Riverfront Stadium that was hit number 4,192, giving him just one more than Ty Cobb at that point. Pete went on to play for about a season, and during that time he ended up amassing 4,256, which is still the record for most hits held by any Major League Baseball player throughout their career. Pete was a great player on the field. However, Pete had a small issue off the field that proved to be big for him. He liked to gamble on Major League Baseball. In 1989, Pete was banned from Major League Baseball for gambling on games. He gambled on games that he was a manager in, he gambled on games while he was a manager in 1987 for the Cincinnati Reds. Pete did, however, state in his book, My Life Without Bars, that he never gambled on games that he was playing in or managed. Basically, he wanted to take out any fact that he would have an impact on those games that he managed, or that he gambled on. However, Pete did admit in his book that he gambled approximately $2,000 per day on games that he was gambling on. In 1989, he accepted a ban from Commissioner Peter Roberth. In that ban, it stated that there would be after 1 year, Pete would be allowed to apply for reinstatement back into the game of Major League Baseball. However, an unfortunate incident took place during that 1 year, and Commissioner Roberth died. None of the other commissioners since that time have ever upheld to that, as it was a verbal statement made to Pete, not anything ever in writing. He is currently still banned from the game of baseball, and he has unfortunately passed his window of time to be allowed to be admitted in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Pete was one of the greatest Major League Baseball players that ever played the game. He played hard every day, and he earned the nickname Charlie Hustle. In conclusion, Pete, by being one of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game, it makes people sad to know that that greatest baseball player will never be noticed in the greatest spot a Major League Baseball player can ever go, and that's the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. I thoroughly hope that you've enjoyed learning a little bit about Pete Rose today, and I hope that you too will take some more time to learn just a little bit more about the life of Pete Rose. Thank you.